Hello my darlings, welcome back to Misabled Cooking. Today we are making very simple spring rolls, delicious, and I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. First off, we're starting with half a cup of, I'm using rice wine vinegar, you can also use white vinegar. Spilling the vinegar over the edges of the bowl is entirely optional. Half a cup of just plain water, 1 cup of white sugar, and I forgot to add in 2 teaspoons of salt. I apologize. And then adding in just about a teaspoon of a garlic ginger blend that I make. All I do is equal parts garlic and ginger, and I just use the food processor to blend them all together and add a little bit of salt to that, and it makes a great paste that you can add to any dish. And now I'm adding a serrano chili. The recipe that I use calls for a bird's eye, but I wasn't feeling like having spice too terribly spicy today, so I just used a serrano. And I'm just chopping that up fine. What you saw is I cut it in half and then sliced off the membrane and the seeds. That also decreased the spice level. So I'm just chopping this up fine to add to the mixture, to the sauce. Gonna give this a little whisking. And then I'm gonna take it to the microwave for 2 1-minute intervals, mixing between. So 1 minute mix, 1 minute mix. I'm gonna cook the shrimp for the spring rolls now. I'm adding that ginger garlic paste again to the shrimp. I already added salt to this, I just didn't get it in the video. It's been a rough one, y'all. I'm so sorry. It's been a rough week, so I'm sorry that the video is coming out a day late, and then also that I missed a couple things. So I added that, I added the salt and pepper, and then I mixed it all together. I turned up the heat, and I'm using just a little bit of olive oil to cook the shrimp in. Once that's nice and hot and shimmery, gonna throw in the shrimp and then make sure that they're on one level, one layer. We don't want doubling up. And then just keep turning them, flipping them until they're cooked. They'll be this kind of pinkish color. There won't be any more of that gray from uncooked, and they'll be curled up a bit more than they were before. Gonna evacuate that into a separate bowl, tasting to see how they are, and let them cool. I'm adding hot water to a bowl for the rice noodles here. So it will be listed below, but you're gonna need rice noodles, rice wrappers, shrimp. I'm using just regular basil, cilantro, and I'm using pre-shredded cabbage that I got just from the store. You can buy the pre-shredded. And then what I'm gonna do here is just, these are the rice noodles. I get mine at an Asian store, but you can use vermicelli or anything. Just follow the package instructions on how to prepare them so that they're soft. My package just said put them in boiling water for a few minutes. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm just going to toss them in that bowl of hot water. And that will cook them enough. That will get them soft and pliant and get everything we need. And then next I'm going to chop up the basil. What I'm doing is I'm just, this kind of, it's been in my fridge for a couple days, so there's a couple brown parts. I'm picking out the best of them. The rest of this will go in like a pasta. So I'm just picking out the best and then layering them up on top of each other into one big pile. And then I'm going to roll them into kind of a smoking implement. I don't condone, I'm not trying to, but roll them into a tube. There we go. And then just slice them thin. This will give you beautiful ribbons of just basil, and it will make it just even and nice, and it's a simple way to chop a flat leaf herb like this. If you want to, if you have like one of those slap chops, you just put it under there and bop, 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 and you're done. Makes it easy. Or you can use, if you have a mini food processor, you can just throw it in there and just whir it a couple times. I'm going to do somewhat the same thing with the cilantro. Just going to put that back in there so it can keep growing. I have water in that container to keep it fresh-ish. But I'm just going to roll it up the best I can and then just chop it through the same way I did with the basil. But then afterwards, I'm going to run my knife through the pile several times just so I get a fine chop on it. Again, you can use a mini food processor, one of those slap chops, whatever is easiest for you. And then I'm going to use, oh, I forgot to mention cucumbers. I'm going to use cucumbers. I tried chopping it by hand, but kind of sat there and was like, yeah, no, and got out my new mandolin. I'm using the grating setting and a Kevlar glove so I don't cut my hand on it. And just carefully pushing those I have just little pickling cucumbers right now, and I'm just pushing those through and getting perfect, even slices. You're probably wondering what the pan, the saute pan next to me is for. That has just a little bit of water in there. I'm going to use that to rehydrate. Oh, I just dumped out the hot water from there. I'm sorry. I dumped out the hot water, rinsed it with cold water to stop the cooking. But I'm using the pan of water to rehydrate the rice wrappers. And that pan is the biggest thing, or the only thing I have that's big enough to fit the full wrapper. You just put it in there until it's pliant, and then start layering it up. It's kind of like a burrito. If you're good at rolling burritos, you'll be good at this. I am not good at rolling burritos, so they're going to come out a little poor, a little sad, but they're still delicious. So I just put the shrimp, the noodles, the cabbage, the cucumbers, the herbs, and then folding over the edges and rolling it as tight as I can. Again, I'm not very good at this. You can double up the rice paper, which will give you a more sturdy, while you're still learning how to do this, give you a more sturdy holder, if you will. And I let that one soak a little too. Ah, no, not the breakage. I hate it when they break. They're very fragile. But so I just did this until I ran out of shrimp and ran out of supplies and just kept building more. I ended up with 3, but then accidentally destroyed 1. I tried to do the whole chefy cut in half and display it neatly, and it fell apart because have I mentioned I'm not good at this? It all eats the same. I say my food may not be pretty, but it's gonna taste good. So there is that. And just roll this big burrito, Asian burrito up and serve it here. I find these really refreshing. It's one of my favorite things to get when I go to a Thai restaurant. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to support me, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. And as always, love you.